All right, we're going to be discussing the mechanics from a front view, and we're just going to concern ourselves with our path or the flow down the mound. So we already got these videos to the top of these guys' leg lifts. Obviously, every pitcher comes down the mound at different rates, different speeds. However, to make these guys flow together, I have changed up their speeds to fit. So what we're going to see is that we got Jerry Jones over here getting that front leg fully extended and really sitting into his delivery. We got Greinke, who's got his knee, which is going to be further back towards second base than his foot is. He's really taking this front knee and kind of curling it back so that his front hip stays closed. And Kirby is going like Jones here with his front leg, but he's keeping it in a more bent position rather than kicking it straight out like Jones. But what we do notice is no matter how these guys load into their back hips, getting down into their legs, engaging their lower halves, what do we notice? We notice where the glove is going. And that's to help them be able to see over their front shoulder. They want to be looking down the barrel of their shoulder, because the longer we can be looking here over this shoulder as we proceed down the mound. Obviously, we've gotten back to center, but look, we're still looking right over that shoulder. Still looking right over that shoulder. Still looking right over that front shoulder. The longer we can do that into our moment of foot strike, bam, bam, we can see front shoulder, and our head is still trying to fight to keep that front, or rather our front shoulder is still fighting to stay above our chin. The front shoulder is still fighting to stay in above the chin. The front shoulder is still fighting to stay in above the chin. And when we do that, we can see that the back hip now has been able to come through, exposing the belt buckle to the batter, to our catcher, but preventing, because that front shoulder's fought to stay in so that we continue to look over it. Look what that's done with our chest. It's kept it squared up, squared up, squared up, as that lower half has been able to fire, and there lies our upper lower half separation that we're trying to achieve. And now here comes the most important part. Getting into this position is key for both our power production, our ability to throw the baseball with our body, thus reducing the amount of stress that's going on through our arm during that delivery, and helping ensure, this wasn't the straightest line here, helping ensure our energy continues to flow to the catcher. All right, we can see that head staying there, that head staying there. Kirby's fighting to keep it in there. And you can see he's fighting to keep it in there because it did not go more out there. So we're rotating that back shoulder. We're rotating that back shoulder forward. forward, forward, forward. So that way all of our power can be flung through those fingers, out through that ball, forward. If we watch that again without any interruption, into foot strike, out of foot strike. Everything staying in line with our target. And then noticing as they're getting into release, where are those chin and chests going? To the target. To the target. The angle of our trunk, this mass from our shoulders through our waist, our trunk right now is upright. It's above our hips. In relation to the ground, it's in a 90-degree angle. As we get into release, those trunks in relation to the ground are no longer up here trying to throw the baseball. Instead, in relation to the ground, these trunks of these elite throwers of the baseball, both in terms of command, the best to ever do it, in terms of longevity and success, one of the best to do it, and an upcomer with elite velocity and potential to be an all-star. Every one of their trunks at release went from being up here at foot strike to out here at release, bringing that energy down the mound, but most importantly, towards our target. And that's something that we're able to see even easier and more clearly in the side view videos. All right, so if we kind of take this back once more and we see these arm slots, we'd say, boom. Oops, let me draw a better line than that. Right, we're at a high three-quarter, three-quarter. We are in a same thing, three-quarter, high three-quarter. Same thing here, right? So these are some of your most common arm slots are the three-quarter to high three-quarter arm slot. And then what we'll look at next here are some guys that are in that lower three-quarter tier. So we'll let, we got Luis Hill, Kyle Harrison, and Carl Crawford. All right, so the same thing, moment of that foot strike, we can see that they're still fighting to keep that front shoulder in, keep that front shoulder in, fighting to keep that front shoulder in, and then coming to release and through, we can see how those heads are fighting to stay in. Luis Hill a little bit outside, but we can see through release, bam, it's there, it's there, it's there, it's there. Now it's out, which is no big deal. It's already stable for long enough post-release, bam, that he could do a cartwheel over here if he wanted to after. So fighting to keep that front shoulder in, And by doing that, the shoulders have stayed squared up, and with a good lower half timing and pattern sequencing, we got the back hip to have come forward, exposing that belt buckle to the batter, creating that upper and lower half separation that we're trying to seek in order to achieve higher velocities and minimize the stress that's put on our arm during these high intense and continuous throws. If we then take these guys into their moment of release, we got that same concept that we did earlier, and we can see here's our low 3/4, even getting closer, some would say, to even true sidearm. We have that low 3/4, and we got that 3/4 to low 3/4. But what we can notice is all the same with those different arm slots, but the most common arm slots in our game. All these guys are fitting the same bill in their own unique ways, but these important key points are all very much getting checked off by each, no matter what. All right, we got your new updated video here. We'll play a couple times for us. All one motion here the first time. The second time we'll pause it at that moment that front foot gets into the ground, so that way it's similar to the first time we watch videos where you can kind of peek at those mechanics at that halfway checkpoint of our delivery. And then we'll get the old front view video next to your new front view video, so we can compare and contrast some of the things that we mentioned back in the summer for you to be able to see how much progression you've been able to make now that we are in December. So, like, we can see that head is doing a lot better job of fighting to stay on that target, start to finish. And what we're also going to notice as we pause it here at that moment of foot strike again is that stride is much, much, much better in terms of its alignment towards home. We can see that's also helped the back leg be able to come through a lot more, which now fully exposes that belt buckle of yours while we are still able to keep that upper body back and separated. So fantastic job of all that hard work over these last couple months to get your delivery to where it is now. And like I said, we can see how that head is fighting to stay on target. Yeah, it still goes off to the side, but what we're going to be able to notice is that it gets peeking. We're peeking back already, which helps get those eyes locked back in. And we're rocking and rolling. We can continue to keep fighting and thinking about that head staying straight as we throw, but just know that we've made a very good improvement all around with that. And we are looking much, much better. So the only thing I do want us to notice, and this is what we'll be working on going forward, excuse me, is that we have a very short arm path, meaning it doesn't get much depth. Right? Oops, did I lose my marker here? We don't get much depth with the arm to then like come up this way. And we don't get a lot of, we don't get a lot of it going down and working up. We don't also get a lot of it working back behind us and up. it kind of instead just stays on this plane right here, and then it comes up. And because of that, as it's now staying on this plane here, as we go to load it up, we get the elbow to load itself up, but then the hand, when it goes to come up, we get a lot of elbow now coming down in order for the hand to be above it. Right? So we got, if we just go from like here, we would say shoulder, shoulder, elbow. Great. Let's now get ourselves, we already got this 90 degrees. Let's now get that hand loaded up so we now have that elbow 90 degrees. And what we're going to see instead, oops, come on now. What we're going to see instead is, what is going on? New update on my computer, and all new function keys I don't know about. Sorry about that. So as we can see right now, those shoulders are exactly how we want them to be from shoulder to elbow. But like I said, instead of this hand loading above the elbow, we're going to drop the elbow to get the hand to be above it. All right. So now, yeah, we got our 90 degrees here, but we no longer have that 90 degrees in here. And now we're going to have to get that elbow to come up, 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 up. And now it's going to be tough for us to get that ball to be released out in front and down, which is most important because we got so much lowness here. So what we're just going to want to learn is how to retailor, repattern, resynchronize this arm stroke of yours, this arm path, to the point that we get at foot strike, which is that 90-90 position. So we'll want to first probably do some throwing drills that induce you or force you to be at that 90-90. And we'll see if we can start you in that 90-90. Does your first movement turn into dropping it down? Or do we able to maintain that 90-90 and just rotate it around? If we are able to just maintain it and rotate it around, that's awesome. Now we just got to learn how to get it to that 90-90. If we started at that 90-90 and as we go to rotate it around, the first thing it does is it drops down, then we're going to have to keep working on those drills where we just start 90-90 until we learn how to rotate it around. And at that point, then we'll learn how to load it up to 90-90. But good news is we don't have to worry about anything with the lower half on that front side at least anymore. Everything is looking much better there. Plus the eyes are looking a lot better too. So now it's just, let's get this arm in a little bit of a healthier, safer, stronger position to throw from. And we throw from foot strike when that front foot hits the ground. And right now we're just in a bit of a low position to throw from. All right, we got your video that we will play here a few times in a row. This first time would be all one motion, so you get to see what you look like from these 2 points of view synced up. Excuse me. And then we will pause it at that moment that that front foot gets into the ground. So that way you can take a quick peek at that halfway checkpoint. And then what we'll do is we'll get the old front view next to this new front view. And that way we can compare and contrast our body's positioning from the summer to current day. And we'll play that once more and get it to be paused at that moment of that front foot hitting the ground. Okay. And we pretty much are looking almost identically the same. This particular pitch, that front shoulder's begun to open up just a little prematurely. Just a little. Compared to where we were before. But what we'll want to look at most specifically, and that's what I kind of discussed with you briefly, is this kind of long arm, right? We got this good extension here. There's nothing wrong with having this type of reach. But what we want to think about is as we load this arm now up to its 90-90, we're going to notice that your hand just doesn't quite get to a spot that's 90-90. And we can see as that front foot's getting in the ground, we can see this back elbow wanting to start to throw. It's wanting to start to come through and throw. It's wanting to come through and throw. We can also see that effect being shown in the front shoulder here of wanting to come through. I gotta kind of redraw that circle for us. You can see how that shoulder is kind of, yeah, here we go. You can see that ripple in your shirt kind of going out towards that front shoulder's third base side. So that's just showing that our shoulders are starting to rotate a little premature, meaning before that front foot gets all the way into the ground. And we're also a bit long. So now this is going to kind of drag through a little bit. And, excuse me, and it's going to just add a little extra stress up in that elbow area, which if we can avoid that, we'd most certainly want to. If it's not being displayed in the front of the elbow, it's going to get displayed in the front of the shoulder. Front of the shoulder can handle that a little bit more than the elbow can, but we obviously, if we can eliminate stress by cleaning up mechanics, we always want to. So something that we're going to want to work on going forward for you, bud, is just working 90-90 drills. Learning how to get the arm path to work into that 90-90 versus right now working into a, let's call it, we can even just, for easy terms, we can call it 100-90, right? What is it actually? I don't know, right? I don't got a protractor, but if we went right up this wall here, we would know that's 90. So whatever this is, we'll just call this 100. So you're not in a 90-90, you're in a 90-100. So we're going to be doing stuff to work on teaching you how to flow up to a 90-90 versus flowing out to a 90-100. All right, we got your new video up here synced up. We'll play it 2 times for you. The second time we play it, we'll pause it momentarily at that moment that that front foot gets into the ground. And then we will play your new front video next to your old front video. And that way we can better compare and contrast those positionings throughout your delivery and be able to see the progression we've made since the summer. So the first time we watch it here, it'll be all one motion. And the second time, we will pause it at that moment that that front foot gets into the ground. Okay, so working backwards in time, something that in your new video you're doing a lot better of than in your old video. So from here, from the top of the leg lift, we're going to notice in your new video you do a good job of sitting into your back hip as the leg lift leg extends down and out. And in this one, we don't do that nearly as well or as much. So we can see this one, your leg's just dropping down, whereas this one, you're getting that butt to load down as that leg lift leg is going both down and towards the target. So now you're able to go out in this strong, loaded back leg position, sitting into that back hip, compared to your old video where you're just kind of standing tall and you're having to hunch over to now load your back quad. Instead, we're loading our back hip. What do we got to drive forward? The back hip. So we might as well load into it, right? We don't drive the back quad. So we don't want to load into the back quad. So this adjustment that you've made here, very good. I'm not sure if you know or not, but we can see that there's a change in your hands posture as you separate your hands. I like this one. I like that one. This one has extra benefits. As we can see, it helps keep this elbow more elevated, which is going to, in return, keep this closed a little bit longer, which is always beneficial. Because there goes that glove early versus here's still that glove here because of this type of posturing. So another good adjustment that if you were actively trying to make, great job. If you were not actively trying to do it, congratulations. Another fantastic thing that we're seeing is this much better upward posture versus this continued hunch position like we talked about because you were so quad dominant. And because now you are in this position here, you would either have to throw super slow and like flip yourself this way to try to get a normal arm slot, or you just hang out over here and just kind of let things flip out to the side, which is the path your old delivery took. But now that we've got this good, strong upwards posture, this glove is still in our body, so that way we don't have energy trying to go out that way. We're now able to rotate this back shoulder forward, but also out towards the target, which allows that arm slot to be in your actual position. To now drive power down. And we can see that chest getting down before getting stacked back up. The one thing, and since you've been making all these good adjustments, I'm sure you're ready for a new challenge. And that is this front leg trying to stay as strong and stable and firm and in place as possible as we rotate this backside through. Both the back shoulder through and the back hip through. And what we'll notice is there's a bit of wibble wobble and bending in this knee. So a little wibble wobble and then this bend. This bend that before it was more straight. You've got a lot more energy and a lot more power and a lot more velocity now coming down and around this leg, which is going to make it more challenging for this leg to be firm and sturdy. But if we can, that's going to help with your arm's health because now your arm is going to be able to slow down properly over a firm, sturdy front side instead of one that's kind of collapsing and bending on you. And it's also going to help you not fall as much, right? Before you were falling a lot. Now you're not falling as much, but now we'll be able to not fall at all after that throw. But all in all, dude, heck yeah, I'm liking it. A lot of good positive changes here. All right, we got your video here. That'll play 2 times. First time will be all in motion. Second time, we'll pause it briefly when that front foot hits the ground so you can see where you're at. And then we'll get your old video next to your new video. Actually, no, before that, we'll get this side view next to a side view where I was holding that heel down, trying to get that to get directed forward. And then we'll get this front view next to your old front view so we can see how things are looking from that perspective. So if we pause things right here and we zoom in, we're going to notice that this this back foot has already begun to come up. We just look at this loop on your shoe here. I don't want to zoom in too much. It gets pretty blurry. But we'll notice that the heel is already starting to come up. So we come over here, and I'm obviously keeping that heel down at this point in time. And then I'm getting it to go forward. Over here, it's still just going up versus going forward. So I think me doing what I'm doing over there is going to be a helpful thing for you to be able to continue to feel what we need to feel. But then also the drills that were included in the old video that are also in my mechanical drills playlist of back leg rotation drills. Learning how to rotate that back foot specifically is going to be very beneficial. But what we're going to be able to probably fix this even easier, we'll be discussing next here with the front views. We'll just let this first time play all one motion through for you. Everything's looking relatively similar in terms of the beginning stages of that. As we can see, a lot better stability and balance. And a lot of that is coming down to this shin not being as awkward of a position, right? We got a lot better stability here in this front leg. Everything coming this way, we're looking rather similar. But once that front leg gets in the ground, we are in a better position for stability. And that's the reason why you're able to rotate around this better rather than this one becoming unstable after, because it was unstable before. So that's a very good positive. Now, obviously, we can see that the heel is potentially even coming up quicker than before. And what I think is going to be very helpful for you is to think of this. Your front foot is rotating towards us, and your front knee is rotating towards us very early. Whereas if we had that piping down our baseball pants, right, we're wearing white pants with a black single stripe down the side, we want to think about that piping continuing to stay facing us as it goes down. But very quickly, this piping is now starting to go over here, and that toes, or the toes of this foot, are starting to come towards us, right? So now that piping is facing first base dugout. This knee and this toe is coming towards us already. And now, as soon as that rotation of that knee and that foot really started to go, watch what's happening to the heel at that same time. Okay, so now what we have done essentially is we've gotten onto the balls of our back foot onto our toes, and now we're just going to kind of step and twist. We're just kind of stepping and twisting, stepping and twisting, step out, step forward. Something that's going to be helpful for you is to think of not only thinking of that piping continuing to face us as you come down the mound, but I want you to think that you got a little lizard that's hanging out on the side of your foot here, right? He's just chilling right here. And you want him to stay nice and relaxed on here as he just continues to stay facing the same way as you go down. And then right before that front foot hits the ground, I want you to fling that dude this way. And the only way you're going to fling him off of your shoe is if at that point in time is when that foot rotates out. Keep him closed. Right now, he's already facing this way. He can't get flung that way now. Now he's just going to get gently set down. I want him to be right here, coming right towards the catcher for as long as possible. And then, like right now, he's still facing the catcher. And then you're going to bam, 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 rotate that forward, and he's just going to get flung off. So if we can think more rotation with our knees and feet on the front side, I'm wondering if that's going to help things on the backside rotate with it as well. Keeping the heel down is going to be very important. Me helping you keep the heel down is going to be a big part of it. You learning that back leg rotation drill is going to be very helpful as well, right? This drill here, my videos, playlists, mechanical drills, backside rotation drills. This right here. This drill is going to be what you need to do to continue to learn how to make the back leg go.
All right, we're going to be working.
Learn how to get the back foot to turn itself over. So go watch the backside rotation drill video. It's going to be very helpful for you to learn how to get that back foot to rotate forward. Learning how to use the knee to get the foot to rotate forward. All right, we got your updated video here that we'll play through a few times for you. First time will be all one motion. Second time will be pausing it just momentarily at that moment that that front foot hits the ground so you can see that quick checkpoint of the halfway point of your delivery. And then after this, we'll get the old front view up next with the old front view, or the old and new front view next to each other, so we can compare and contrast some things and discuss anything further about what we're seeing. So obviously, new on the left, old on the right. Get the good high leg lift, good hand separation, lower body rotating in a foot strike. You see that upper half doing a good job fighting to stay back. That glove's exactly where we want. Eyes are on the target. Coming through release. We can see that chest is getting out in front. We're fighting to keep that head on target. Everything coming down and through with a good hip finish and eye staying on the target. As I said before, we're looking good. And I'll say it again, we're looking good. If you like this big, heavy offset set position, we can continue with it. Something that I'm going to recommend and we may want to work on a little bit. For two reasons. Reason one, being able to have a quicker, more efficient pick move. And two, being able to get this leg up quicker when we need to be pitching with more urgency. Man, on first and third, we know he's probably going. We don't want to have to slide step every time, right? Man on first base, and it's early in the game. They want to be testing our catcher's arm. Let's make sure we're getting it up, getting it going. We don't want to have to slide step every single guy gets on base, right? The slide step is a weapon to be used when it needs to be used, right? If you watch big leaguers, they don't slide step every single time there's a guy on base, right? So right now with this heavy offset, you got a lot of weight on this leg here. This is the leg that's going to have all the weight on it when the leg lifts. If we kind of watch this back foot here during the initial stages of this leg getting up, we can see what occurring. We can see the weight needing to get really, I can't lift this leg until I get it loaded into this back leg. So you got to kind of buckle this back knee. And when you buckle this back knee, what happens? This body gets more under this leg. So that way this leg can come up. Very good base runners are going to, or very good teams are going to pick this up from the dugout, and then highly skilled base runners are going to be able to read that buckle and know that they can start to get into their secondary or start to get their steal going well before they see the heel flinch off the ground. Also, it's just going to take longer to get it up because we got to not just get the leg up, but we got to get the weight all the way back into here to then get things going back to here. So now your time to the plate, the moment it from this heel coming off the ground where you're now committed to pitching to the time the catcher catches the ball, that's time to the plate. All right. And we take time to the plate and we add that to the catcher's pop time. All right. And that's going to equal a certain time. Okay. And if that time is greater than the pop time and the catcher's time to plate, if that starts to get over 3.7 seconds, we are probably going to be giving up a stolen base, right? Because even at 90-foot bases from first to second, this guy at first is in a 10 to 12-foot lead. So even if we just say he's in a small conservative 10-foot lead, that means he's only got 80 more feet to go to get to second. I'm pretty sure in 3.7 seconds, you can run 80 feet, right? And that's 80 feet, which is less than 30 yards. And 40-yard dashes, 4.5 to 4.9s would be pretty darn good baseball times. So kind of thinking about, 10 less yards is not going to be almost a full second of time. So we really want to think about getting it up, getting it going. So being in a less split stance is going to help be able to get that leg up quicker. So that way you can get going more aggressively, which could ultimately lead to more power. But the most important thing is it's going to help control the running game better. It's also very difficult to pick from this position here because, again, the back foot's got to move first. And if you got most of that weight on that front leg, now that back leg as it's moving, we're going to be doing a lot of potential balking because this leg's got to go to third, right? So now you got to do a lot of stepping and then a lot of stepping to get out of that, right? You got to flip these legs. Now you could do a jump turn, and if that is your move, then this would probably be a pretty sweet spot to do it from. So if you are just a jump and toss it over there guy, I'd say just keep doing this. But if you are a step to third and step to first guy, or you're a step behind and step to first guy, I'd recommend getting these feet a little bit closer to one another. We can still be offset, but think like heel is in line with a toe even. Because if we do notice your old video, we're already kind of in the lift, but that heel was closer to the toe. You've kind of since gone even more offset. So again, just something for you to think about. But all in all, delivery's looking good. More than good. It's looking great. All right. Got your new video here that I'll play through a few times for you. Second time it comes through, we'll pause it briefly at that moment that front foot gets in the ground. So you can see that checkpoint of your delivery. And then we'll get your front view video from the summer next to this front view. And we will be able to compare and contrast the body's positionings throughout the delivery, and then most specifically at that checkpoint of foot strike. All right, so for the most part, everything that we're seeing in these deliveries is almost a exact replica of itself back in June or July. I can't remember when it was. I do know it was early summer because the grass at the elementary school is actually green. And we can see everything looks very much the same. And the one thing I believe I made reference to originally, and I'll make reference to it now if I didn't then, is that there's nothing wrong with striding across our body like you are, right? We're marking the toe as best I can with a trackpad here to the heel. And that stride is going across your body, which is fine. But a lot of what this foot is telling me is that it'd rather be straight up more rather than kind of just staying with the angle of everything. And that now gets you into this angle with your leg, which is now a tough spot to be firm on because it's going to be easy for it to kind of collapse this way. And that's also the way we're rotating. And we can see how that knee just gives a little bit. And that's just, when it comes down to, hey, let's throw the ball harder, these are the things that we look at. These are the things that we address. Is that any give as we're trying to go is absorbing energy and therefore absorbing power. And it's just a tough leg position to try to be strong as we rotate around and out in front of. If we're going to have a stride that's going across your body, I recommend having your front foot be closed. That's going to help your knee not get opened because your stride is closed, your knee is open, and your foot is straight up or neutral. So we got a lot of different body parts in different alignments, and we're trying to just be as symmetrical and strong as possible. And a lot of different angles is not always very strong. So we can either try to get this stride to be less across your body, right? We could try to work that stride over here, and maybe this angle gets more manageable. We could work on trying to get that stride just more straight if you'd want. Or we can keep this pretty significant across your body stride, but learn how to get the knee and the foot to agree with that. And then know that guys that throw across their body are usually lower slot guys as well. Not always, but they traditionally are lower slot guys. And you have a low slot, but you tilt it, and now it's a 3/4 slot, right? And guys that have cross-body strides usually stay upright and rotate with that side arm posture rather than get this, rather than get that. Right? If we took this and just turned you this way and got you upright, your arm would be out here. You'd be a sidearm guy. But you're a sidearm guy that tilts in order to get your arm up. And now, is this tilt occurring because of this tilt? I very much think so. So we either gotta think, I'm going to be a cross my body guy who throws sidearm and learn how to get the knee, the foot, and the chest to learn how to be upright in sidearm. Or we make the transition like, and I apologize, I still don't know everyone's names yet, or we make the transition like my man here has, and this is not in reference to throwing across your body, this is in reference to being sidearm, right? Here's that posture that I'm talking about. Like, if we're going to throw sidearm, we're an upright guy throwing sidearm. Or we learn how to get that arm up and rotate things down, down, down. So there's a lot of ways that we can go about this. We can work them all different ways. We can work all the ways. Or you can say, hey, I want to stride across my body, so therefore I want to learn how to do everything else sidearm. Or it's, hey, I don't want to have to learn how to do all that stuff. I just want to learn how to stride straight and just let everything else clean itself up from there. Then we do that. I think it's going to be an easier thing to do is if we don't stride across our body as much. And what we're going to notice is when we have these two being compared is that the stride that you have in your new video is more across your body than the old video. And to the best of my ability, I'll try to draw those straight lines again from the toe forward. And we can see how much more we're striding across our body than we were before. So this across your body thing is something that's been over the last, say, July, August, September, October, November, the last 5-6 months, your stride has slowly crept more and more across your body. So what I'm going to assume is that this across your body stride is not something that your body naturally does, but it's something that your body is starting to do without you even knowing it. So we're probably going to want to just learn drills to help us get back to a more straight stride. And that will be the easiest and best thing for your development. Also, let's learn how to keep your hat on again. I'm sure it's frustrating for you. It's even more frustrating for everyone else, like the other team and your coaches. Don't be afraid to take a shower with your hat on and then let it dry on your head. It'll shrink to your head size. All right, we got your video that'll play here through for you a couple times. The first time will be all one motion so you can see what you look like. And then the second time, it'll get paused at that moment that that front foot hits the ground. So that way you can see your body's positionings real quick. And then we will get your old front view next to your new front view. And we will watch that a couple times to be able to further discuss the progression or the changes that we have seen in that delivery. So all one speed there, everything looks rather similar. As we watch it a second time, leg lifts look pretty similar. Hand separation looks pretty similar. Front legs, path forward looks rather similar. Foot strike position, we look rather similar. As we come through to release, we look rather similar. As we finish, we look rather similar. As things come through with the backside, we look rather similar. Okay, so everything from the front view looks the same. What I want us to really pay attention to, and this is the biggest thing that you need to work on that we're going to be doing a lot of drills on, is this arm's path, this arm stroke. Right now, your arm falls out and you got this kind of tight, tense, Like, I'm going to be here, and then this only gets more close to the body. And it gets more close to the body by the elbows, loading upwards or this way. They're coming up towards the sky, and they're also going back towards your back. You're loading your scaps up, which is fine, but you're doing it from such a tight position, and you're doing it from such a horizontal position. This forearm is horizontal. This one's not horizontal, but if it was, we could say these are both horizontal for so long that nothing's getting flipped up with this throwing arm. And now that front foot's into the ground, that heels in the ground, toes in the ground, you're bearing weight, and this thing's not even up yet, right? This is a very, 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 very risky position to be making throws from, especially on the mound. Your arm is down beneath your shoulders. The ball is almost beneath your head, yet you're going downhill, and the throw needs to go down. We can't rotate this arm and get it to go down from this down position. So now when you go to throw, we have tremendous stress going through this elbow to get it to get up, and then somehow fling this ball out in front of you. And that's why we can see it's just almost so close to the side of your head as it's coming out, and it's just trying to get it out there, and you can just see it in your face in that front view. Obviously, everyone's got an aggressive face, but it's just like, ugh, get it going. And it's such a tight little window to throw in. We really need to work how to get this arm in a 90-90. And it's not just work it from there. We got to also work how to get it there. If we're going to be this guy, we got to learn how to flip this bad boy up. Flip it up, flip it up, flip it up. Instead of just continuing to like pinch your hands towards your armpits. You're kind of bringing your hands towards your armpits, which is fine for the glove, but the throwing arm needs to be coming up, up, up. Your hand just comes into you, into you, into you. And now we're in this position where, like I said, we got a lot of unneeded stress and a lot of extra risk factors to try to throw this ball downhill. And that's why your chest can't go down ever with a throw, is because it never has a time or a chance to, because the arm is always going up, 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 up. And then at the last possible second, you're trying to, with your fingernails, redirect that ball down at the last second. So we're going to be doing a lot of repattering, resynchronizing your arm's path, your hand separation, your glove path. So that way we get to a healthy position here to throw from. Because we're going to be dealing with sore arms, sore elbows, sore biceps, sore shoulders, whatever it may be. We're going to be sore often, and we do not want that. All right, we got your new video here that I played through 2 times for you. First time will be all in motion. Second time we'll pause it briefly at that time that front foot hits the ground. And then we will get your old front view next to this new front view to be able to compare and contrast what those 2 deliveries look like, and then be able to further discuss what we're seeing or wanting to work on. All right, we'll pause this second one when that front foot hits the ground. Okay, so we can see the front foot's positioning is much, much better than the old foot's positioning. And because of that, the shin's alignment can agree with the foot, right? The foot was going over here. The shin agreement was going over here, which made the knee go over here. But yet the hip was here. And now we can see hip, knee, foot, and a much better alignment. We can also see, because this front foot isn't overly rotating, making the knee overly rotate, that's not taking the shoulders with it. So now at that moment of foot strike, we're not as opened with the upper body. We are much better with our upper lower half, or the shoulder hip separation. The stride might be a little bit more across your body than before, and you're still even able to get things rotated better. So very good job with all your hard work on that. It's definitely paying off. We can see, because you're not having to overly rotate, that front foot is not having to rotate early, which means late rotation is now occurring, and late rotation is aggressive rotation, and aggressive rotation can help us create power. And while we separate those two halves, that also allows us to create more power with also less stress on the arm. And as we get out in front now, because that knee wasn't all jinkety janked, sorry, I got a fire truck going by with honking its horn for no reason. Because it's not all jinkety janked here, it's able to support and brace all this energy and power that's about to come in front of it and ultimately around it. Where over here, it's just going to end up collapsing and giving. Over here, it's not doing it as much, right? And it's going to continue to do it less and less and less the more you keep throwing this way, because it's going to realize it doesn't have to do it, right? So we're doing a very good job making these adjustments that we wanted to make. So keep up the good work, and we're going to keep on working on firming up that front leg even more. So when we drive this power down and through, more of it can get sent into that throw instead of getting lost in the leg. It's looking good. All right, my man. We're going to play your new video here 2 times in a row. First time here will be all in motion. Second time we'll pause it briefly when that front foot hits the ground, so you can see your body's positionings at that halfway checkpoint. And then we will get your old front view next to this new front view. And that way we can compare and contrast things that you were doing with things that you are doing, and be able to discuss anything further in this delivery of yours. We'll play that a second time here. And we'll pause it when that front foot gets into the ground. So we can see that heel and then the toe, heel and then the toe. And we can see that heel kind of even gets the foot to a little wibble wobble there. Wibble wobble with that foot. So the drills that we learned at practice, we're going to want to keep doing. And then, of course, the more we get to throw on these mounds, the more your foot's going to learn what that angle needs to be, right? Before we progress too much further, I want to go back to this side view here. And the leg lift has gotten a little bit better. It's not just straight, just kicking back. It is raising up and then kind of kicking back, right? So we can be this kind of guy if you want to. We just got to make sure that now we go with the hips and the shoulders going, and then this leg will catch up. What we don't want is to have this leg swing back, then have this leg swing forward, and then the hips and shoulders go. So what we can see is they kind of both are going at the same time, and then the foot gets out in front. So if you want this to be your type of leg lift, I can work with this, right? We can work with this. So I like what you've done with that. Now, what we're going to talk about is, let's get back to the front view here, is as we come through, another thing that we're doing better of is being able to stay on our mound by having this foot be more secured into the ground as everything from the backside comes through. Whereas before, it kind of took you off the mound. At least on this pitch here, you displayed the ability to be able to finish around your body and keep that body on target, so that way we can go over here if we need to go field the ground ball. Or that ground ball comes right back up the middle. We're not over off to the side, and it just goes right on through, but bam, we can get it. So those are both very good adjustments that you made. The one thing that we will want to begin to work on is continuing to get that front foot in the ground right away, so that way the shoulders don't rotate forward before that front foot hits the ground. Right? As you can see, each throw that we've recorded here has a little bit different degree of how much those shoulders have rotated before the throw. This one, they're still back, kind of like halfway back. This one, they're almost like 85% rotated forward. So if we want to be able to throw harder and with less stress on our arms, we want to learn how to be able to get this lower body down into the ground while this upper body is still back. And the big part of that for you is just going to be to get that foot in the ground right away instead of that foot taking a while to get into the ground. So we just want to continue to do the drills that we've been doing, or that we introduced at practice, as often as you can. Whenever you find a mound somewhere, go hop around on it, go throw some balls off of it. All right, we got your new video here. We'll play it a couple times for you. Second time, we'll be pausing it briefly when that front foot hits the ground. And then this after that, we'll bring up your old front view next to this new front view so we can compare and contrast your positionings throughout your delivery. And then we'll discuss anything further that we want to make note of in that delivery. Okay, so just remember this glove before we even get all the way into foot strike. Okay, this glove, as it goes out towards that target, we want to make sure it does not open us up early. And the sooner that glove gets outside of your body, the sooner the elbow is going to start to go with it. And the sooner and more the elbow goes, eventually the shoulder is going to go. And if the shoulder goes before the front foot hits the ground, it's going to start to pull that back shoulder forward. So now your upper body is already starting to rotate before that front foot gets itself firmly into the ground. And what we noticed with the old video is we were a lot of heel first, and then we folded into the ground. what we notice now is that this front leg is still not quite rotating enough for us. So now it's hitting the inside part of the foot and then the outside part of the foot. Inside part of the foot, outside part of the foot. And when your foot first hits the ground, it's still hitting the heel first a little bit. But notice where this kneecap is going. It's over here. Versus this one, when we were more heel, it was still the inside part of the heel. But that kneecap was over here as well. And then it rolled more here when the foot rolled there. With you landing on the inside part of your foot, we have that same effect. That knee's over here, and then when the foot rolls over, so is the knee. And now that knee has started to roll. We got to hope it doesn't want to continue to roll, but we can see it does. So now we got an unstable front leg that we're trying to rotate around. And a lot of it is being caused of this glove's path just kind of getting loopy on you. And then trying to tighten it up. And then trying to tighten it up, which is great that we are. And then we kind of lose it again. Right? And all of this stuff equaling this less than upper lower half separation because that upper half has already come. And because the lower body has not fully rotated yet, both the back leg and the front leg, specifically the foot and the knee, not fully rotating. And we can see as soon as this inside part of the foot touches the ground, that back foot, back knee, back hip have not done anything yet. So now they're trying to do stuff. But at the same time that back hip's coming towards us, so is that back throwing arm. So now your lower body and your upper body are rotating at the same time. And because they're rotating at the same time, as they go to throw, now we just kind of push that thing forward, kind of just push it forward. We can see how that arm doesn't really lay back that much. It lays back more in the new video than the old video, but because we're just kind of pushing it forward, we kind of just step it forward at the finish. These shoulders were rotating this way to throw. They should continue to rotate through release. And we can see the arm does, but then the shoulders kind of just stay here the whole time. They are unrotating. Even, right? Because this logo of your shirt is over here right now. And then after that arm stops its finish, now comes this way, and then the shoulders come this way. And that's why your whole body now goes this way, forward, instead of being able to continue that rotation. And that adds a lot of stress to the arm. We want to be able to finish through rotation. So if we want to throw harder and we want to throw with less stress on the arm and if we want to throw more accurately, we're going to want to learn how to rotate this lower half into our stride versus striding and then trying to rotate everything together. And then we're really going to have to work on learning how to and feel rotating through release versus kind of just stepping forward with this heel coming off the ground and we just go forward. And the reason that front foot is going forward through release is because you threw the ball by going forward, rather than throwing the ball by rotating. And if we gave you a quick example, a really good example of that, we could do here and show you rotating through release. See how the shoulders kept going around? Letting the arm have a long time to finish. Healthy finish. Letting the hips continue to rotate around. That's the finish we're trying to look. Like that would be a very extreme example of what we're trying to get you to see or to do. So an extreme example is an easy example to see that on, right? This would be another example of that finishing those hips all the way around versus just finishing towards the target.